Hey travelers, Mag and FlCrafters here, ready to set out on yet another adventure on the trails here in Oahu. What trail are we taking on today?
Aiea Heights Trail.
The Aiea Heights Loop Trail is a 5-mile loop trail with a 900-foot elevation gain on it. As a geocacher coming onto the island of Oahu, this is the single must-do trail for your checklist because it is the site of the oldest geocache in Hawaii, Geocache GC23, and the home for the Cache Across America Hawaii. So if you take no other trail here in Oahu, this is the one to go on. So we're gonna walk our way through the entire loop, right? The entire loop?
Yes, we're doing it.
Most likely the entire loop. We're gonna try and find every geocache along the way and see how long it takes us. So let's get out there and see what the Aiea Loop Trail has in store for us today. Come on, let's go.
We set out from in front of the ruins of the Kaiwahaia, built sometime in the 16th century.
I love how pretty much everywhere you go, you're gonna see wild birds and chickens all around, and these guys are all over the place as we go out here. So hopefully we'll get the answer to why they keep crossing the road.
Perhaps it is simply to avoid taking this trail, wanting to avoid a 5-mile hike out in the woods.
All it takes to make a good geocache is a good idea, and this multi is a perfect example of that. What do we have here, FlCrafters?
A bunch of ducks in a bucket.
And all of these ducks are labeled with numbers on their booties, and those numbers help us to spell out the stages of the multi. How do they do that for us?
Shake, and then read the butts based on the color that you're looking for.
And it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt because they don't tell you exactly what the duck is straight out. Instead, they give you hints. For example, we have one with yellow lipstick. Which one is that?
These berries. Yellow lipstick.
Yellow lipstick is this red duck right here, so we know the number on his butt is going to be one of our first clues to solve this multi, and then off to the final we go.
We shake the ducks around for a bit longer until we have all the answers we need to seek out the final.
And we are starting our morning off with our first find here. My geosenses pointed to the rather odd pile of sticks, so we'll just move all those out of the way. And we have the official start for our geocaching on the Aiea Loop Trail. This is one of many to come.
This is another one of those trails here on Oahu that is rated for novices. As it is relatively short, the climb is not too steep, spread out over a long distance, and there's lots of tree cover to provide shade.
Do we have a winner, FlCrafters?
We have a winner.
Easy day. And once again, while I navigated to the ground zero, she was already busy getting the cache container in hand. This comes as a little surprise by now.
FlCrafters has been geocaching on and off for the better part of 16 years, so her geosenses are highly attuned, and once she gets near the ground zero off in the woods, she has a pretty good idea of where she's looking.
This is not just any geocache. This is one of the Cache Across Americas that we came across a few of them on our trip to the United States last year. There are 50 of these spread one through each state, and of course the final in DC. When you come here and find the geocache, it's usually hidden at a place that represents the state that it's hidden in. And I'd say the Aiea Loop Trail is a great spot for the Cache Across America Hawaii to come out and represent. And I think this geocache needs a few travel loads. What do you think?
Yes, it does.
Let's load it up. I have quite a few trackables in this bag to be able to drop off too. Now, the Cache Across America and the oldest geocache, as you could imagine, get hit quite frequently. So those are the two geocaches out here I want to make sure to leave trackables in because they will move out of him just as quickly as I put them in, probably within a week or so. So we're going to go ahead and leave this little fishy here, fish on the line, and we're going to leave this guy. I like how each of these trackables are on their own little bags here because even if the elements get in, which I don't think they will because this is a pretty secure looking container, but even if they do, they're still going to be all right because they have their own private bags. So there we go. Bye guys.
Our goal here today is to complete the entire 5-mile loop trails, walking it clockwise as most hikers do. However, we kicked off the Where I Go at the beginning of the parking area, and it takes us down one of the first branch trails. So of course, we are obliged to follow and see if we can track down the final.
We have quite the obstacle course here. I think FlCrafters is going to navigate through this like a champ though. You got it. Oh, you chose the under, huh? I went for the up on this one. How low can you go? Limbo.
This side trail is much more narrow than the main trail. The scrubs are brushing at our shoulders on each side.
I'm getting pretty excited here because our juggling act is actually working out pretty well. We start with the multi, we have a sequential adventure lab we're working on with the geocaches, and at the same time we're also doing a where I go. This where I go is particularly important to me because even though I found, probably at least a couple hundred where I goes, I've never actually done them myself. I either do them beforehand online when they're possible, or I am able to follow behind somebody like Inextricable Fate who's smarter with the app than I am. But this time around I got it loaded up and we are now 100 meters from our target. Ooh, I'm getting pretty excited because this is going to be my true first where I go find where I led the way.
The app has already crashed once, forcing me to start over, so I'm hoping it will hold out until the end.
It's a truly momentous occasion. I followed the app all the way through from step 1 through the final step, with it closing out and me having to restart, of course. And now we are here with me putting my hands on my first self-led where I go. This feels good. Yeah!
There's another listing not too far down this side trail. We figure we've already made it this far, what's a little further?
This spur trail is proving to be quite a bit of fun. We've already found the where I go, but we're continuing a little further down because there's another geocache along the way. And pretty much as soon as you step off the main trail, which is fairly wide and open, you are pressed in on each side by these plants. As you can see, it's brushing our shoulders at many points here. But this is the kind of geocaching I really like. These trails that are slightly hazardous, but still manageable.
With the trees pressing in all around us, it's a bit of a shock when we come to a space where we have a little more room to breathe.
This one is listed as a regular size container, which means it shouldn't be all that hard to find. And the survey says, it's not that hard to find. Look at that camo on there too. That is a very nice paint job. We do a lot of camoing like that in Florida, actually. We take the palmetto leaves, lay them directly across the container and spray on them, and it gives them that kind of tiger striping look. So, something I'm very familiar with from camoing my own geocaches. What do we got going on in here? Ooh, a lot of swag. That is a cool pen. And when it comes to geocaches in Hawaii,
Coffee.
I would say this is a premium swag item right here, because these trails will really beat you down in the sunlight.
With the where I go and extra find knocked out, it's time for us to turn around and reconnect to the main trail.
When I turned this corner, my heart skipped a beat. That buzzing noise in the air, listen for it. I thought that was the sound of bees buzzing around, and I was instantly ready to turn around on the trail. But it turns out it is just a million plus hungry gnats. I assume they're eating some of the flowers here, though I can't see what they're swarming on. But as you can see for yourself, they are thick in the air, crowded onto the leaves like that, and swarming all around me right now. But they have no interest in me. So whatever's on these trees is definitely the fruit that they're going after. But I'm fascinated by it because this is quite a swarm we're in the middle of.
After taking the spur, it's a nice contrast to be on a hard-packed, well-maintained trail.
One of the benefits of having a hiking stick is if the brush is too thick, it's not here, but if it is, and you have to poke around a little bit, sometimes you'll hear the container, especially an ammo can, because it has that loud metallic ting, unmistakable. But even these plastic ones like this, they make pretty good sound that lets you know that you have found the geocache you are seeking. And we are doing pretty good. Ooh, check that out. There's a full-sided die in here, I dig it. And a little travel bag here, throw over your shoulders, some swag in it, and of course, the logbook, the most important part for us geocachers.
On occasion, the trees pull far enough away from the trail for us to get a look into the valley down below.
It's worth saying time and time again, the journey is the destination. This is a pretty cool trail. On either side as you progress along the way, it is steep cut along one side and a complete drop off of the other. And the roots are actually what help keep it in place too, because you can see that they're holding the foundation together and keeping the trail from collapsing in on you, which is probably a very good thing for us right now, but in general for all the people out here, because this is a very popular trail. We've seen people at every stretch along the way as we progress, and I have no reason to think that we won't continue to do so.
We're both glad that the 900-foot elevation gain on this trail is spread through its entire length, because while we have been hiking uphill this entire time, the gradual slope makes it very manageable.
These are always one of the coolest parts of the trail for me, when the roots form their own natural staircase. No actual trail maintenance needed to make it happen. As you can see here, it's just a natural progression, like a set of stairs leading you up, and the roots hold everything in place, making this a beautiful trail.
Just like the roots sticking out of the walls on the side of the trails, the roots forming stairs are essential to the longevity of this trail. They are helping to slow down the erosion that would otherwise eat away at some of these corners.
And as I was discussing here, you come in for the find. You're not sure if it's cache or not, but you hear the nice ting of the ammo can. That's how we know we're in the money over here. So let's see what this ammo can has. And by the way, I love finding ammo cans. The whole time I was in Japan, I never found one, which kind of makes sense. It's not a country that's exactly expending a lot of ammo, but out here, they are plentiful. Oh, we got a nice bottle here. Got a race car, not bad. Got a castle, some of you might call that a rook. Either way is fine with me. And of course, the logbook. Nice, basic ammo can. Great geocache because if nothing else, it has a Game of Thrones sticker right here. Winner.
There's a certain value to being out on a trail like this that is difficult to quantify. Despite having been out here for hours, we continue to enjoy the sounds of the forest and each unique point of view.
We've been friends now for how many years?
Since 2011, 2010?
2010, so 14, coming on 15 years now. And pretty much every time we get together, there's a hike involved, isn't there?
Yes.
We definitely work hard.
Or a road trip involved.
Or a road trip, and on those road trips, more hiking.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of miles too. When we get out here on the trails, what would you say is your favorite part about being out on the trails?
Well, it's usually the views. What are we gonna see? Or sometimes, who are we gonna see?
On this trail, quite a few people, right?
Yeah, and dogs.
And dogs. We've encountered quite a few dogs, and I love on each one of them that I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
And speaking of views, just off to the side here, another good view for us. And this side of the trail actually offers quite a few more views than the other side did, so it's a nice little reward despite the lack of geocaches over here.
Yeah.
For me, I can't go wander out on a trail just to hike it for the sake of it. I need some kind of motivation.
Yeah.
Geocaching really gives that to me because it's goal-oriented and we have places to go, and in some of these, we have to go off trail a little bit that we would never do otherwise.
No.
What would you say one of the craziest geocaches you've ever done is?
Oh, there's so many of them. The last week is probably the craziest done in a long time. You know, going up the Willy-nilly Niue Trail, but even the one going down the Hamama Bay area, I finished some of them, but not all of them. It took Nick to convince me to finish the last 3.
And we've finished off a few trails while you're out here, and every weekend it looks like we're going to be picking out new trails to take on. One of my craziest early memories geocaching with FlCrafters was when we took on Juniper Springs in Ocala National Forest.
Yes.
It is a 7-mile paddle, one way, thankfully with the current.
Yes.
And there's geocaches all along the stretch, which is great. And there's also transportation, so when you get to the end of the run, they come pick up your boats and bring you back to the beginning so you don't have to try and paddle upstream.
Yeah.
And one of those caches on there was the multi that was the multi that was in the spring.
Oh yeah, yes, I do remember. That's when I think that's when the kayaks capsized.
We did have a few of that.
Yes, I do remember that.
So I don't know that we're going to be doing so much kayaking or canoeing out here. And I'm not in a hurry for it either because it's all open water.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the open water thing.
I
But
don't think there's any out there. Unless we scuba dive.
there is at least one. We saw a scuba diving one off the coast here in Oahu that's in the ruins of a sunken ship. Hard pass for me, not anytime in the near future.
Yep.
I won't be considering anything on the waterways in Hawaii until we have killed all of these trails. One at a time.
At a time.
It is not uncommon at all for trees to fall directly across a trail like this. In most instances, crews will only do what's necessary to make the trail traversable, cutting them down or leaving them as is.
One thing about this trail that definitely doesn't come across in the video format is the smells. Now, whenever you're out in nature, of course, there's the unique nature smells, but this trail has been rather distinctive. There's been 5 points along it where really the smells just kind of overwhelmed us, and we had to try and figure out what they were. FlCrafters knew eucalyptus right off the bat. That was definitely my favorite. And then of course you've got that fermented wine smell of the strawberry guavas. We figured that out. But there was another spot where it had a very distinct cinnamon smell to it, another with vanilla, and one with French toast. So getting near the end of the trail, I think we're both ready for a meal after all the delicious smells that have been assaulting us along the way.
Although there are a lot of hikers that come out to take on the Aiea Loop Trail, most will turn back and go the way they came from on the main branch. The back half of the trail has a lot to offer as well, but it sees significantly less foot traffic.
We both just learned something here. Reading is fundamental. We've both been working on this adventure lab as we've been making our way around the trails, and the stages move sequentially, going clockwise around the Aiea Loop 1 through 5. Well, it's my bad, but I'm in the habit of kind of not reading through everything the adventure lab gives me. I get to the stage, answer the question, finish up the adventure lab, and then solve for the final once I've done that. This time around though, important to note, this adventure lab actually gives you the keyword for the final at the end of the 4th stage. We figured out at the 5th stage that's important because that 4th stage is before the final, which is about half a mile away from the 5th stage. So once we got there, finished up the sequential stage of the adventure lab, plugged in the information we needed, we both had that aha moment. So it looks like we're tacking an extra mile onto this hike, but we've gotten this close to finding everything out here. We're not gonna leave this one behind. Cache on.
On the plus side, having to backtrack for this Adventure Lab final does make it easier to find the branch trail we need to take.
We have backtracked, found our way to the ground zero, and thankfully we've spotted the prize without too much searching around, making this backtrack well worth the effort. Although I guess that's just my opinion. What do you think, FlCrafters?
Look.
Good enough for me. That's a geocache. Does that make it worth coming back for?
Yeah.
Success. Now it's just time to finish up this trail.
But not before we stop in to visit the reason why you are likely to be coming out on this trail in the future.
And of course, the reason that most of you will ever step foot on the Aiea Loop Trail is for the oldest geocache in Hawaii. Geocache GC23, which is waiting right here for us to pop the top and for a second time add our names to the logbook. Oh, you can just smell the age coming off this one. It is loaded with travel bugs. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 in here right now, plus a pretty good smattering of swag. So I'm going to take a few of these with me. I'm going to leave a few as well since I still have my entire bag full of trackables to deposit. And that's it. GC23 is the main objective of coming out on this trail, and if you do no other geocaches here in Oahu, this is the must-do, because what geocacher amongst us can pass up an oldie like this, am I right?
Altogether, I would say that our hike out here today has been a resounding success.
This makes an awesome viewpoint out over the H3, and it is also a unique place to sit and enjoy the sound of it. The cars going by almost have the sound of a river passing back and forth below you, and it's a constant hum that just adds to what you're already getting out here with the nice breeze blowing and the birds at a constant chirp. Not a bad spot to sit, enjoy lunch, get a drink of water, and take a breath before the rest of the long hike ahead.
And really, there is no better place on the Aiea Loop Trail to sit and take a rest than at the very back end of it. You will not get a better view down into the valley from anywhere else than in this spot here.
Okay, that's the Aiea Loop Trail. And believe it or not, despite this being 5 miles around, this is actually one of the easier trails we've done out here. Yes. The 900-foot elevation gain is spread over a very long distance, so it's not a straight up climb like we were doing at Hanamo Bay or when we were on the Wili Wili Nui Trail. Instead, nice easy day with lots of geocache finds along the way.
Yeah, a lot of little zigs and zags.
For the second half of the trail, heading back to the parking area, there's not as many geocaches on that side. So it's pretty much just a hike back and, thank goodness, downhill from here. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to see the Aiea Loop Trail with us. And if you ever get to come cache in Oahu, I know you're going to be out here because you want to at least come find the state's oldest, and let's be honest here, cache across America, Hawaii. But until then, make sure to like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.